Hi everyone, it's Mary from Joyful and Mary Quilting, and in today's quilting tip, we are going to create 4 split square triangles. So what's the difference between a split square triangle and a quarter square triangle or even a half square triangle? The split quarter square triangle is just that. It's a quarter square triangle, but it's been split in half, and half has the 2 triangles and the other half has 1 large triangle, as we would see in a half square triangle. You will be really surprised at how we can take 4 squares of fabric and create 4 split square triangle blocks. As with half square triangles and quarter square triangles, the split square triangle is really a staple in the quilting community as well. I especially like to use this block when I'm creating a ribbon border on a quilt, like I did in my Christmas quilt here. In the corners of the quilt, I have the split square triangle, and the way you position them, they turn into a beautiful ribbon. Follow along with me as we sew our squares together, and then we will cut and press them into split quarter square triangles. Be sure and stay with me to the end, because that's where I'll give you the numbers you need to know. I know, more math, in order to figure out what size squares you'll need for the specific split quarter square triangle block that you will be making. This tip will be invaluable for customizing your quilting projects. So grab your fabric and let's get started on making these really charming and versatile squares, quarter square triangle blocks. As you can see, they are mirror images of each other. So when we create 4, we're going to be creating 2 that face one direction and 2 that face the other direction. So let's get started. So let's begin with our 4 squares. We are going to be making 4 split square triangles, 2 that are mirror images of the other 2. So we're going to begin, since we're doing a 4.5 by 4.5 split quarter square triangle, we are going to begin with 2 5.5 inch squares, 1 light and 1 dark. And then we are going to begin with 2 of our contrasting fabric, the same fabric that are actually a 1/2 inch smaller, 5 inch by 5 inch. So these are the 2 that will be our contrasting fabrics that I've chosen. And then we have, actually you want to make sure this one and this one is also contrasting, and this is my background fabric. We're going to set these aside, and we're going to start with the wrong side of this light fabric. Now you can see this is a tone on tone. It's kind of hard to see the pattern, but this is the wrong side up. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. I like to start in the middle and then go one direction and then the other, just so that my pencil doesn't drag. I have that diagonal line drawn. That's my cutting line. I'm going to take the 1/4 inch marking on my ruler and I'm going to position it just to the left of the cutting line. So you can actually see a little bit of space between the dashed 1/4 inch marking and the cutting line, that corner to corner line. And I'm going to mark another line. I'm going to flip it around. Same thing on the other side. Make sure that my 1/4 inch marking on my ruler is just to the left of that corner to corner diagonal pencil line. And again, I'm going to draw a diagonal line. This is my cutting line. These are my sewing lines. Then I'm going to take my 2 pieces, my dark square that's the same size, 5.5 inches, and I'm going to put these right sides together, and I'm going to pin them just because they are rather large squares and I just don't want them, I don't want them to shift. So I'm just going to put a pin out here and another pin on the other side just to hold it in place while I'm sewing. Then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to start on the right side. I'm going to sew all the way down on the line. You can cut your thread or just flip it around. And then I'm going to come back and sew on this side. Once I have done that, I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to set that seam, remove my pins, set that seam just by placing the iron on top of it. It helps to kind of make that seam part of the fabric fiber. So that's why we do that. It just makes our blocks lay flatter once we've cut them and we've pressed them open. So go ahead and do that. So I have sewn on those 2 sewing lines. Now we're going to cut this apart on the cutting line. So I'm placing my ruler right here. I'm going to make that cut. Now I have 2 half square triangles, large ones. We are going to press these toward the dark fabric. Each one is going to be pressed toward the dark fabric. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so we have pressed both of our half square triangles toward the dark fabric, and we have marked the back exactly like we did with our previous squares. We have drawn that diagonal line, that's our cutting line, and then a 1/4 inch, a little less, on each side of that diagonal line will be our sewing lines. So these are all marked and ready to go. Now we're going to take those two 5-inch squares, right sides together, and we're going to center them on our half square triangle. It's pretty close. You can see, we just want to get those corners lined up as best as we can. Right sides together. We're going to just put a couple of pins in here, over here, just to keep it in place, because we can't see what that square is doing underneath when we start to sew. Position it far enough away that you're not going to be in line with your stitching. And then you're going to sew just like we did before, down this side, flip it around, and sew down this side. You're going to do that with both of your squares. That's how we're getting 4 out of these squares that we positioned, sewed, and cut. Same thing here. Make sure that this is lined up as best as we can. We're going to put a couple of pins to hold it in place. And go ahead and sew these as well. Once you have sewn them, set your seam by holding your iron on there just for a few moments, and then you're going to cut these apart on that cutting line. So go ahead and do that. And there we have both are sewn, and we are ready to cut them apart. We want to just double check and make sure that everything looks good underneath, which it does. Let's go ahead and cut these. And this is going to be our untrimmed split 1/4 square triangle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we will press them toward this dark fabric, the solid triangle. So you're going to press them in this direction. Before we do that though, we want to trim them to a 1/4 inch. Now, you've got two choices. You can take your ruler and you can press these and then position your ruler and trim this to 4.5 inches. You want to make sure everything is lined up right. Or you can do it the easy way that I find is really easy. I have one of these Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. It's something that I had in my drawer. I didn't even realize I had it. I tried it. I love it. It comes with 2 different rulers. One of them is for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 inch unfinished, and the other one is for 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and so on, unfinished. Ours is going to be 4.5 unfinished, so that's what I'm going to use. The ruler has a line, a dashed line, and that's your sewing line. So I'm going to place the 4.5 inch marking on my sewing line, which I can see it better on this side. And then I want this vertical line to actually go right along the vertical line that's connecting our 2 triangles. So here we go. I've got this lined up and I've got this lined up, and then all I have to do is trim it. So I'm going to trim here. And the best part about it is it even trims off your dog ears for you. So you've got this little slot right here, which is why it's the slotted trimmer, I guess. And then a little bit left that I didn't trim very well. And here we go. Look at that. We're going to press this just like this, and we've got that perfect split 1/4 square triangle right there. Isn't that great? You have 4 of these that you'll be trimming, and we've trimmed them all. I want to show you once again. 2 face one direction and 2 face the other direction. And they can be used for a variety of patterns when it comes to your quilting designs on your quilt, on your border, wherever they're needed. I'm just going to show you a little example here. This is what the ribbon would look like. Since they're mirror images, this would go on one side of the quilt and this would go on the other side of the quilt, but you can see the ribbon will just travel down just like it did in my quilt that I showed you at the beginning. It's just a really cool feature, something that you can make more interest in your quilt border by using these split 1/4 square triangles. That's why I love them. They're just so versatile. There's so many things you can do with them. So here we go. We have 4 split 1/4 square triangles. What size squares do we need to start with in order to create these blocks? You will need 3 fabrics, 1, 2, 3. Two of those fabrics, this one and this one, will be 1 inch larger than the unfinished size of the block. So this is 4.5 inches unfinished. These two squares will need to be cut 5.5 inches. This fabric will need 2 of those squares, and those squares need to be 1/2 inch larger than the unfinished size of the block. The unfinished size is 4.5 inches, so we will cut these 5 inches, 2 5-inch squares. So what do we have? 1 light and 1 medium that are cut 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and then the remaining 2 squares, which are our dark squares, are going to be 5 inches by 5 inches. And that's it. I am always trying to be joyful, but I will always be merry. Thanks so much for watching.